So something I have never considered in the last 20 some odd years of real estate investing is actually going to new construction. I will admit that as I was going through my journey, I wanted the older homes that needed some love and attention because those seem to make the best yield and return. I now am 23, 24 years deep into this. And something I am seriously considering is if real estate pops again because rates go lower, I might 1031 out of my older homes into new construction. So I want to talk to Dana and see what's going on at Hemlane. And is anybody really looking at new construction? Anybody buying them for rentals? Dana, what's going on?
So we do have quite a few folks who are buying new builds.
Oh, this is not an original idea? Oh, darn it.
Yeah, they are. And I think there are pros and cons to it. I mean, you have your buy box that one rental at a time talks about. You should not go outside of that buy box. And if it's a new build that goes into it, great. There are some other advantages on the property management side and just the management in general. There's also some potential risks that I've seen with new build. So the benefits of it, and the biggest benefit I've seen is on maintenance and repair. Typically with new builds, you just don't have anything for the first couple of years. You can just
You would certainly hope so.
Things are not going to go wrong, the roof and stuff, but you do need to do your diligence because there are a lot of contractors out there who aren't that great and they know it's a rental and they kind of just cheaply do things, one coat of paint, no primer, this or that. And at the end of the day, then like in 2 years, you see it. So you do have to be very mindful of that with new builds. However, that whole passive, that idea of like, hey, this is pretty passive from a repair side, is true. We've definitely seen that there's a lower number of repair requests in there. That's the advantage I see. The biggest disadvantage I've seen, and this isn't with all new builds, but the ones that I've seen real estate investors go after now, is and there's always a balance of uniqueness of properties.
Yeah.
In these communities where all the properties look exactly the same, you don't really have as much of an advantage of like, hey, it's close to downtown, it's got this charm to it, this or that. And what happens with a new build where all of them are rentals or many of them are rentals, investors have come in, they're all on market around the same time because they build in batches like phase one, phase two, phase three. You see them all come on market at the same time. And then from a price perspective, there's this reduction in price because everyone's competing against one another to bring this, to get their property filled. And so from that perspective, it's a little bit more difficult on the pricing side and the rental side. It's easier to price it because you just look at the property next door. The other property, say there's no difference to it, right? But I think that can be a downside because, Michael, to your point, if you're in these older neighborhoods, you could do fresh coats of paint, new flooring and the property, whatever it is, and really give it an advantage to the properties down the street. And that will make a big difference. In the new build, you just don't do that, right? Because you're not doing those upgrades. And it's not, you kind of look at the numbers and you say, if I make the outside look a little bit different and I do different landscaping or this or that, how much more does it really worth? Well, not that much, not really worth it to put that in. And so you'll just see that from that perspective that the uniqueness is not there. I think we've spoken a lot about that with real estate investors who are starting to build a portfolio. When you're trying to compete against institutional investors or REITs that have multifamily where all the units look the same, one of the good things is that you have a unique property. If you have a floorplex, it's pretty unique. The whole dynamic of it, the culture in it, all of that. And you just don't have that a lot of times with these new builds and mass developments. Now there's definitely potential like upside to that, a lot of people just say, hey, for the price versus what I get of a new house, that's what I want. But it's something to balance and be mindful of.
Yeah. I think there's just so many things, new investors, you got to run the numbers, your buy box. It's interesting. I do think new construction works if that's, again, you're going to likely get a lower yield. But if that's where you are in your investing time horizon, lots of people are starting, but some people are finishing. I think it makes a lot of sense for the hassle factor. I also think new construction is a wonderful strategy if you're house hacking, right? Whether that be house hacking units like Spencer Cornelia or Todd Baldwin, or even now they're, like we're out in Vegas, we're looking at some properties that have these next gen suites, right? That are already set up to be little studios or little one bedrooms. I'm like, wow, this is really becoming a thing. So again, getting a new construction where you could get, 40% of your mortgage paid in a next gen suite with Lennar or other is at least interesting to consider. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in new construction. I do think you have to run your numbers. You have to figure out where you are in the horizon, but lots of possibilities. And I think it's interesting that you're seeing the data in Hemlane about new construction units coming online. So pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Dana, if somebody wanted to get the trial or get the resources, where do they go?
Yeah, you can go to www.hemlane.com, HEMLANE.com, and just mention one rental at a time for 20% off your first year.
Wow, that's awesome. Again, folks, I think you should practice being a landlord. I think Hemlane is providing a lot of value there. Dion uses it now to market his properties as they come online. There's many different levels. And of course, we have a playlist just called Hemlane. So again, check it out. Thanks, Dana.
Thanks for having me.